Hey everyone, my name is Penny Zenker, and it's time to reset. This podcast goes beyond just navigating change. It's about new ways of thinking about how you can approach challenges, how you can shift your mindset when needed, create some space and grace for yourself so that you can rethink, recharge, and reprioritize when and where needed. Are you ready to unlock your full potential? Thank you for hitting play and sharing this next episode with me. It's time to reset. Hello and welcome to Take Back Time. My name is Penny Zenker and I'm your host. And on this show, we're looking for unique individuals, leaders, and people who have been there and done that and can teach you something from experience. And I know we're going to get that today. So Jeff Russell is with us today, and he is founder of the Oak Ridge Financial Investments, IAPAM, that stands for International Association of Physicians in Aesthetic Medicine, Glenmore Healthcare, and Clean Start Weight Loss. So he's got a lot of stuff going on. And he's a successful entrepreneur, and he teaches entrepreneurs how to unchain themselves from their daily grind by creating businesses that run without them. Yes, more of that. And his latest book, Fire Yourself First, provides a 4-step plan to free up time and allow business owners to do what they love next. So without further ado, Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Penny. I'm honored to be here.
It's fun to have you. You know, before we got started, you said something very interesting, and I kind of want to maybe start there. You said you only work a few hours a month. Is that what you said?
I work 10 days a month.
10 days. All right. Well, so that's a few hours, a few more hours, but 10 days a month, right? That's a third of the month you're working. First of all, what do you do with the rest of your time if you're not working?
Well, that's a time for me to think. And so depending on the time of the year, so in the summers, maybe I'm outdoors, I'm doing stuff, I'm having a great time enjoying things. And then an idea will pop into my mind. I'm like, oh, I wonder if I should do this business, right? Then I'll just kind of evaluate that, think about it. And then that could lead to something else. Is I've got 6 companies right now. And I guess what I realized was there's parts of those running of those companies that I didn't love. And I needed to kind of unchain myself from doing the stuff I hated. And then all of a sudden, I have all this free time. And so I do charity work. I do just a variety of stuff. Now I can choose the time.
We might be all over the place here, but I'm just going with where. Isn't it interesting when we have thinking time, how much more seems to fall into place when there's proper time to think about it and approach it in the right way and take the right action? Say something about that, because you spend a lot of time thinking. You spend way more time thinking than I spend thinking.
Well, yeah. So for the last 15, 20 years, I've read 6 business books a month. And I'm not a speed reader and I don't do Audible. I just read them the old-fashioned way. And so I've always, whenever I have an issue, I find 3 or 4 books or a podcast or 2 to listen to kind of get a different perspective, and then kind of take what I've learned and combine it in my personal perspective and my personal situation. And then I create kind of a custom solution for any issue that I'm working on. And so that is really where the thinking time is. And the thing that's interesting, in the last 2 years, I feel things have accelerated. And AI, ChatGPT has really kind of changed things up, kind of like they were 20 years ago, 30 years ago when the internet kind of popped in and people started using that. And so if you don't think about how that's going to impact your business in 3 to 5 years, you may not have a business. So I always want to think about in 3 years, if AI took over all of my business, then what would I do? So how can I work with AI to make sure that doesn't happen? And so sometimes you got to think out of your comfort zone and think out of your box to think about that. So very important to think about what's new, what's next. Sometimes you think about a whole different business opportunity that allows your business. Maybe you plug into your business and you can go in a different way and pivot a little bit, or a bolt on to your existing business, or it could be a whole new business, or you're protecting your current business. So thinking time, so critical.
I mean, if you don't have the time to think, like you said, you'll end up out of business because you won't have thought about it and everyone else will gain the competitive edge and squeeze you out. and you're not able to innovate, to renovate, like you're just trying to keep up. And that doesn't work, right? I think it reminds me of Stephen Covey's, sharpen the saw. You're too busy sawing the tree not to recognize that your blade is dull and you're not getting anywhere. That's kind of what that is to me. And I call those, I'm working on a book called The Reset Mindset. And it's about taking these reset moments to really think things through, to think deeper than our current environment lends itself to be for us. Like, do you feel like it's partially also the case because of the environment, like with all the distractions and the things that are vying for our attention? Like we have to fight back for that thinking, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And in order for me to go to working 10 days a month, I had to put in a very strict filtering system in place. So if it does not kind of meet with my big purpose in 3, 5, 20 years, I'm just not doing it. And because it's so easy to fill up time with busy work, right? And this is what I find is I was working 30 days a month a couple of years ago. And then I'm like, this is a lot of work, right? Like I never seem to have relaxation time. And then I actually get the same amount of work done in 10 days that I did in 30 days because I've just filtered out the distractions. You're absolutely right.
Right.
What is most important here?
Somehow I feel like when it's more extreme, it makes it even easier to do that because it is so extreme. Because you could probably say, okay, somehow I'm going to optimize and I'm going to work 25 days instead of 30 days. You don't really challenge yourself to work differently. It's when you make such a drastic change. And sometimes that happens like with COVID, right? It was such a drastic change that people had to think differently. They had to say, how can we work differently? And I think that probably is what happened for you, is making that big change, right? Did it make you really check in on what you're doing and why you're doing it and even the way you're doing it?
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to really think beyond your business. I think so often we're grinding it so much that our day is all revolving around our business, not the things we actually really truly want to do. And so I had to really kind of think back and hone into what is my purpose. And it's not your business. It's beyond your business. Mm-hmm. And so I think when you start doing that, and then your business actually runs better than it's ever run. So for me, going from 30 days to 10 days a month, my businesses run better than they've ever run, and they make more money than they've ever made. So I kind of wish I did it 5 years ago instead of 2 years ago.
But is there an optimal time? Like, how did you do that? And how did you know when it was time? Because there are times when you're just getting kickstarted in your business that might just not be an option. What's the ideal time and what did you do to make that possible?
I always like to think about the concept of who can do this, not you. So if somebody else can do it and cheaper than you're getting paid, I'm getting them to do it. So when I started one of my first businesses 20 years ago, first person I hired was a contract bookkeeper, CPA, to do my books. I know how to do them, but I don't like doing them. And it's better for me to find customers than it is to do my books. And so sometimes we get kind of trapped in this rat hole where we do things we're really good at, but it's not actually the best use of our time for the business. And as a leader, your role is strategy and culture. So you need to revolve around that. Now, having said that, did I grind it working like 20 hours a day for the first? Absolutely, right? You've got to go through that process. Otherwise, you don't truly have a business. But then you know what you're going to let go of as soon as you can.
Right. So how do you know when that right time is? Because there is a time when, like you said, when you probably need to be doing it. I mean, not necessarily, right? But I don't want to get into that hole there. But how do you know when it's time? How do you know what to let go of first? What are some, I think you said you've got a couple of different steps. So maybe you can walk us through your process.
Yeah. So we got to think bigger here. So first, administrative. If it doesn't make money, then it's not something that I should be doing, right? So often sales is something you kind of keep doing because you're really good at, you know it inside out and you're passionate. So if you need an administrative assistant, whether it's a virtual VA or an EA, and they can be part-time, you can have someone working 1 or 2 days a week for you. It doesn't have to be a full-time position, but that person will generally let you. When you're really hiring the first full-time person, it's generally, I want to hire only a role that makes money. So probably a sales role or something like that. So when it's a full-time, I want the role to pay for itself so that I don't have to worry about it. So now all of a sudden you have two salespeople, you and whoever you've hired. You train them, you let them listen in on your calls and get them comfortable. And then you start hiring more that way. And so for me, hiring people is the most difficult part. And so in my book, Fire Yourself First, I first talk about the first step is you got to find your purpose, and it's bigger than your business. Okay. This is my personal purpose statement, is to make a positive difference in people's lives by encouraging them to see what they cannot see by serving as their guide. So everything I do, so the book is a guide, my online training is a guide, the workshops are a guide. So those are all the guides that I help them see it differently. The second step is hiring an autonomous team, right? So I want to be able to walk away from my business, because if you can't walk away from your business for a month or two, then you have a job. You don't have a business. Like a real business does not require you to be there. But the most difficult part of any business is hiring the right people. And those people that come with their batteries already included, they're ready to work. And so I have an 11-step hiring process. And I actually, if you go to my website, www.fireyourselffirst.com, you can download the 11-step guide for free. I'm not a consultant. There's nothing you can buy from me. Everything's in the book. And so once you have that, you need to make sure you have key numbers so that the employees know what winning looks like. And you know what winning looks like. So I create scorecards for each of my employee roles, and then I have a dashboard for myself. So I know what the key numbers are. This is the critical part. Like when you have your team built out, they need those key numbers and you need key numbers so you know things are going well. And then what are you going to do next? I find when you have this big goal is next, I want to do this. Like there was a while I was building orphanages in India because I went to India. I saw poverty like I've never seen in my life before. And I wanted to help these children out. So I'm able to do that, right? And I have other interests as well. So what is your big purpose and where do you want to go? And then what happens is you actually create more value in your business than you ever had before. Because a business that doesn't require the owner to be there day to day is valued more than a business that requires the owner. So you can increase your valuation from 2 times to 5 or 10 times. And like one of my businesses was offered $10 million for a couple of years ago, 18 months ago. And that's when I thought, should I sell it? It's a fair valuation, but I'm like, what would I do? And I'm like, I love that business, but I don't love everything I do in it. So I really kind of fired myself from sales and admin and all those other little roles and just let that go. And I only do what I love to do, which is speaking at the live events. So you have that ability to kind of build the future that you want. Sure, it's tough at the beginning, grinding it out, but that should be fun. To me, that was fun. It was exciting. The time flew by, but then your business will slowly get to another stage where it's not as fun for you. And that's when you know it's time to look at who can do this, not you.
Right. So that's the reset moment, is when it's not as fun. And I probably would say it's not only when it's not as fun, because maybe you're having fun, but you're still like stressed out, or you're finding that there's other things that are falling apart in your life, right? That's also a good time to take a reset moment and reevaluate. And yeah, I've been there. So I totally understand. I had an IT business and I learned firsthand what it was like to work around the clock and also burn myself out. And what I talk about now is finding those reset moments earlier so that you don't have to go through the pain. Usually it's because of all those reset moments that you missed that creates that bigger one that forces you to make a change. And sometimes it can be more painful than it needed to be. So what's your definition of productivity and why?
Great question. So for us, depends on the key metrics. So, when I was mentioning dashboards and scorecards, those are very important and they're very hard to develop. In every business, they're a little bit different. And so for some of my business, it's often a productivity metric because I don't care about my gross revenue. I care about the profitability, right? So that's the key thing. So there's always a profit. I'll tell you an interesting one for one of my other businesses. It's the number of 5-star Google reviews. So that's actually a metric where the employee bonuses are based on that. Because when you have a business that is people Google you and then they decide whether they're going to come or not, the reviews are critical. It wasn't like that 3, 4, 5 years ago at all, but it's kind of changed. And every 0.1 below 4.9 costs us about 10 to 20,000 a month. So we've actually have a value to it. Yeah, like if you're 4.5 or below, you're out of business. You have to be 4.7 to 4.9. 5 seems a bit contrived. So having 4.8, 4.9, and having hundreds of reviews. So that metric to me means I make $100,000 a month in profit. So that's how I use it. And it's easy for the employees to get around it because 5-star reviews is something they are. I just convert it to a dollar number. So everything can be converted to a metric that makes sense to you.
I like what you're saying. You've probably heard of the whole lead and lag measure type of thing.
Yeah.
So most people are on their dashboard, what they see are the lag measures. So for those who are listening who might not know the difference of what those are. So the lag measures are what your top line income, your expenses, those things that have already happened. And the lead indicators are those things, like you said, the reviews. And depending on the business, it's the type of things that are driving the business to get to those numbers. And I love that highlight on that because everybody can get around and can visually see those reviews. It's not something that's hidden. It's very transparent. They can, like you said, if you make a clear evaluation that they can see what every review and every point means to the business, it's very transparent, easy for them to understand. And it's something they can control. They can ask people to do a review. They can influence that. So there are things that actually can be influenced. And I think that's a big challenge for a lot of leaders is they're not necessarily setting the right measurements for people to follow. Do you find that as well?
Yeah. And you have to look at your business should be to help people, right? So you should provide a value that's helping people. And then, of course, people need to pay for that value, right? So they have to see the value. So I always want my metrics to my team members to be about providing value to our customer. So try and think of whatever your specific business is, what type of value indicator to the customer, right? So, and it could be your pipeline of leads. So it goes to a certain thing. The 5-star reviews is an easy one too, right? We can see the value there. So it's just like, because if the customer finds value, then they're going to tell other people. So that's the growth, right? That's the lead. And as you mentioned, Penny, you're exactly correct. The lag indicators are the easy ones, but it's almost too late. It's the lead ones that if you don't watch those, 3 to 6 months after you fired yourself from your business, you'll discover, Houston, we have a problem.
Well, and it gets people focused on the wrong things. Right. Yeah. So if what you're setting is important to the organization and the values that you're following, you want to make sure that your measures are delivering on that value. So, yeah, I forget there was an example that I think Jim Collins gave in when he was talking about Walgreens and CVS and how Walgreens changed their metric because they didn't want to measure it on a cost per square meter because that wasn't what they valued. They wanted to be on every street corner. They wanted to be the neighborhood place that people would go to. And so they were measuring it differently because otherwise they'd be closing multiple stores as opposed to opening them. And so it would go against what their actual values are. So you really do need to know what it is that you're looking to achieve for the customer, and that'll drive those numbers.
Yeah, because most employees, they know what their job responsibilities are, but they don't know specifically what winning looks like. And it's those numbers, right? Number of 5-star reviews, the maybe reduction in expenses or whatever is important to your business. We actually, in many of my businesses, we have it either electronically or on paper up on the screen. So when they walk in, they know exactly what winning looks like. In one of my businesses, we use Slack. And with that, we have pinned what winning looks like. So we know every day, everybody knows.
Right. And they're constantly coming back and filling up with that before they start doing whatever they do for the day. Right. So that keeps them oriented around the most important things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Is there anything I didn't ask you yet that you're feeling like you want to share with the audience before we wrap up?
I guess when some people mention what my superpower is, it's the filtering that's so difficult because I'm a natural entrepreneur. I see opportunities and ideas everywhere. Like the squirrels are just flying around. So if you're like that, you need to really have a strong filtering system. It's like, yes, that's nice. And maybe you write it down in an Evernote or something, or a little voice memo, and then drop it and save it for another time and let her go. So really, you got to keep focus. And I'll tell you, when you work 10 days a month, it's like that Friday before you go on your family vacation. You get so much done on that Friday. If you start narrowing down the number of days a month you work, every day will be like that day before you go on family vacation. And you are just like, it's just boom, 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 boom. You'd be amazed at how clear things look. So do that. Maybe you start doing 3 days a week or 4 days a week and you take every Friday off or every Friday and Monday, but just start doing that and you'll realize you can actually get a lot done. It's easier than you think.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can all be experts at filtering. It's also a choice. We get more purposeful about how we're filtering things because there's lots of different mechanisms too to filter so that it doesn't actually reach you. You put that protection mechanisms in. I call it gatekeepers, right? It's not just the person who answers the phone that keeps you. There's lots of different ways to create gatekeepers that protect your time and attention.
Absolutely.
So, fantastic. So tell us again where people can reach you.
Yeah, the best place is our website for the book. So it's www.fireyourselffirst.com. Again, I like to give all this stuff away. I'm not hiding. You can't hire me. I'm not hireable. So all my tools are there for free. So if you want to create your big picture purpose statement, the clarity map, download it for free. Hiring people, the 11 steps are there for free. Okay. And I have a Friday email where I give out tips. So you can sign up for that. And the book's on Audible as well as paper and hardcover.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being here and sharing your wisdom.
It was an honor. Thank you very much, Penny.
My pleasure. And for those of you entrepreneurs out there, I mean, we could also apply some of these thought processes in the corporate world as well. So filtering is across the board, whether you're a parent or you're a CEO or you're an administrator, filtering is absolutely key. So if you take nothing more away and you feel like this wasn't for you, it's for you, I promise. And for those of you who are entrepreneurs, well, we're all looking to, I know that I'm not there yet, but I'm looking to work only 10 days a month too. I think that sounds great and do more of the fun things, but also my work is fun. But anyway, for those of you out there, go check out those free resources. That's incredibly generous of Jeff to share that in the way that he does. So definitely take advantage of it. Don't let that go. And think about, other than filtering, what's one other thing that you can do to work towards firing yourself or working towards that freedom? What's one thing that you learned today that you can put into practice? So that's my challenge for you. Take a reset moment, take 5 minutes right now to reflect on that and to set an action plan. My name is Penny Zanker, and this is Take Back Time. We'll see you in the next episode. Hey, thank you for spending this time with me. It really means a lot. If you're feeling a little off, distracted, overwhelmed, stuck, or just out of sync, remember that's your signal to reset. And that's all it takes, just recognizing one reset moment at a time. So stay tuned for more tips, tools, tricks, stories, strategies, all here on Time to Reset. We'll see you in the next episode.